Hello, my name is Erin Stone, and I am a Program Director for Council and Chapter Affairs at the Military Officers Association of America. This is a webinar for chapter management targeted towards our chapter leaders and council leaders. For your information, it's a version of what we do when we travel around the country to speak with leaders at our regional training workshops. So hopefully the intent is to give you some ideas and tools for things that chapter leaders are usually most interested in hearing about. So let's start with why we have councils and chapters. If you aren't aware, we have almost 400 chapters around the country. Why do we have those? Why do we care about our affiliate system? Well, the affiliate system does three things for us. It expands the reach of MOAA because, as you know, we're headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia, and don't have offices around the country. So you are our reach out there in the field. You help enhance the MOAA mission, which is, of course, advocacy on behalf of military members, veterans, and their families. And finally, you help us build the brand, which in turn helps build membership. So it is to everybody's advantage to have a mutually supportive relationship so that we can help you do your job and then you can ultimately help us do our job. So we're going to start with a chapter assessment. What does a healthy chapter look like? Skipped it. There we go. Okay, so chapter assessment. A healthy chapter has three things in common in place, and that is they have a purpose or a mission, which they can easily articulate. They are engaged in the legislative advocacy mission, and they are involved in the local community. And those three things in turn contribute towards membership growth at the chapter level and ultimately at the national level. So how do we tell if a chapter is doing those things? Here at headquarters, we can look at the committee module and run reports to see if your chapter is using the committee module and some of the other electronic tools that we have in place. You'll have an up-to-date leadership roster in the committee module so we can reach out and speak to the leaders and everybody in the chapter knows who those folks are. We can look at recruiting and retention statistics. We know that you're using the electronic funds transfer and the online dues program. If you're using the USAA sponsorship dollars and the MOAA Foundation grant program, or you've at least applied for some of those things in the recent years, then we know that you're involved in community programs. And finally, you're involved and engaged with us here at MOAA National and with your council. So you will see us. You should hear from us when the chapter is overdue for a visit, and that means anytime after about 3.5 years, one of our chapter affairs specialists will contact you via email and ask if we can set up a meeting. And that's our opportunity to come out and speak with you and give you updates on all of these programs that I'm talking about today, but more on a one-on-one kind of basis. And as you know, we do regional workshops as well. We try to get around the country. We do 4 of those each year. So obviously we're not going to get to every little community, but we try to centrally locate those and move them around each year so that we can maximize the number of chapters that can attend our workshops every year or two. So first, we're going to walk through those first 3 things that we talked about: mission, legislative advocacy, and community involvement. So chapter mission statement. You want to first identify your purpose. If you can't tell people about what your chapter does, it would be very difficult to recruit them and have them come join you. It also gives you a real focus. So you want to talk to your members, talk with your board, define what you do. That we do have some of our 400 chapters who are strictly social or primarily social. Our experience shows that those social chapters are not as successful. So if you have a community involvement purpose, or you have a legislative purpose, or anything else that you really want to focus your chapter on, that can help drive you. You want to be able to articulate that mission. So when you're interacting with prospects and you're talking to them about joining your chapter, we've just recently started talking to our chapter leaders during training about something we call sales training, and that is learning how to communicate to prospects such that it is something that's impactful or effective to them. A lot of people, when we go to the field, say they hear the young people aren't joining, and if you're really looking for those younger members to join, they're not joining is what we hear. But the truth is, the market research shows that young people do join things. They just want to join things where they can have an impact or make a difference. You also should understand that the folks you are talking to may have very different motivating factors than you. So the idea should be to listen to them, ask them questions. What's the most important thing to you right now? What stage of life are they in? Is it important to you if you're transitioning from active duty military and you're getting ready to transition to a civilian career? Is services for that kind of helping you look for your next career important to you? Or is it important to take care of your family and ensure that they have medical coverage? And then you can use those things that they're telling you are important to them to then articulate your mission and some of the talking points, which are available on the MOAA website, to let them know how MOAA can assist them in meeting some of those needs. And then you'll want to make sure that once you do have that mission statement and those talking points, those are the kinds of things you want to include in your chapter marketing material, so that is something going out to all prospects. All right, so legislative-wise, why is legislative advocacy important? Well, some of the things that it brings you is it really goes with our motto of never stop serving. So it is an opportunity to continue to serve. That's why MOAA exists, to serve military and veterans and their families, and advocate on their behalf at the local, state, and national level. It can help bridge that military-civilian divide. If you are talking to your legislators, as you know, not many of them have served in Congress, a very small percentage. So if you can talk to them and let them know that you have that military background and have some experience and expertise in some of these issues that they may need to address in their official capacity, you can help bridge that divide and help educate them in terms of what would help military families. It can help you grow your pool of prospects. The more folks that you interact with, the more that you're out there, the more people are knowledgeable about MOAA and what we do, and more likely to come join us. Obviously, it also increases a level of expertise within your chapter on things, the state of how your state treats military members and veterans and families in your state, and helps us as well. Legislators are going to listen to you first. The federal legislators who are in your state, who are representing your state, you are a voter. So what you say is very important to them, and it contributes to our access at the national level too. We hear many stories of a relationship that's been built with a congressperson at a local level, and that is able to open some doors for when our national lobbyists want to get in and speak with someone at the national level. It helps obviously elevate our status as experts and advocates in the area, and builds awareness for the MOAA brand. Some things that we've done to help support state advocacy. As you know, MOAA is focused on the national, federal level. We don't have the staffing to be able to advocate in the states, but what we try to support that as best we can. So we have established a headquarters point of contact for those efforts, and that is the Program Director for Engagement here on the MOAA National staff. We provide advocacy training anytime we're out there doing those regional workshops that I talked about, and some other opportunities. We look for opportunities to help the legislative chairs, the legislative liaisons, and anybody in the affiliates help them learn more about how to advocate effectively and build those relationships. We also have a couple of opportunities for collaboration with our virtual chapters. As you may know, we have 2 virtual chapters in existence right now. The first is the MOAA Uniformed Nurse Advocates, and the second is the Surviving Spouses virtual chapter, and both of those are heavily involved in advocacy for issues which are pertinent to those 2 organizations. They also have members which stretch across the United States. So those are members who are probably local to you, who can also provide that network back to the virtual chapters into your chapter, help build those relationships for you, and help your chapter learn about some of those issues. Also, a fairly new initiative begun by 2 of our outstanding legislative chairs in the field. Tom Robillard from South Carolina and Don Wolfinger in Missouri have put together a state legislative forum that is the primary purpose is to set up a forum whereby the states, the chapters, and the councils can participate in exchanging best practices with regard to state and local advocacy. They do a periodic phone call. If you have folks who are interested in that, their next meeting is coming up on the 16th of January at 2100 Eastern Standard Time so that they can accommodate folks around the country. If you have people who are interested in joining that meeting or future ones, please send emails to trobillard, TROBILLARD @sc.rr.com, and or Don Wolfinger at DON17609 @yahoo.com. They also work very closely with our government relations folks and our engagement director as well to ensure that they are in sync and we are in sync with what they're doing at the local level. All right, so then let's move to community involvement. Community involvement is super important to get out there and build the MOAA brand. You get your projects noticed in addition to doing really good work out there in the community. You're building that awareness and that brand, that MOAA brand, particularly if you're out there wearing MOAA gear and with a MOAA sign or something that shows people that that's the organization that you're from. So some ideas, these are coming from some of our chapters. Lots of our chapters are involved in these types of community activities. You want to engage with your Guard and Reserve units and folks who are in your area. Obviously, at the active duty installations, you can offer to assist at the Base Transition Center with some transition assistance and networking assistance for the transitioning military members. Ask the Retirement Service Office if there's anything that you can do to assist. Certainly, many of our chapters are involved in retiree appreciation days and the ability to set up a table, give some remarks, educate people about what MOAA is, and begin to bring them in as recruits. JROTC and ROTC involvement has been really a stronghold for MOAA chapters out there in the field, and some things that folks are doing are presenting awards for graduating students, offering to judge drill competitions and the like, and definitely connecting with the cadre because at some point they will be commissioned and potential members as well. At universities and higher education institutions, you want to interact with the campus veteran service offices, maybe set up some events, offer to come give some presentations, invite the veterans who are members of the student veterans organizations over to some of your meetings. Ask some of these folks in this entire list, if you've got an installation commander or a veteran service office there on campus, maybe those folks can come talk to you, to your group, and become a part of your programming. Volunteering at base and VA medical facilities has also been a pretty effective and obviously much needed service that some of our chapters are involved in. Community events, Veterans Day, Memorial Day parades, those kinds of things, services, presentations. If you partner with other civic and service organizations, that has been very effective. They have a lot of crossover in terms of their members. State military coalitions, veteran treatment courts, American Flag Protocol Initiative, all of those things are going to expand the network and allow you to expand that MOAA brand, as well as Chamber of Commerce, kind of missed that one. But scholarship programs and assisting with monuments, buildings, those kinds of things are all really good ideas for community involvement in both the local community and in the veteran community in your area. So one of the ways that MOAA can help you fund some of those community outreach projects is through the MOAA Foundation Community Outreach Grants. We have done this last year. We had about 44 chapters or councils apply for a grant and 22 were awarded. You can receive up to $5,000. You just need to write an application, which you can do online. You see the link there. The application period is now open through the end of February, www.moa.org/foundation. You can learn more about the program, and the application is right there online. Next week, we have already recorded our previous Vice President for Development recorded a successful grant webinar to walk you through that application process and the judging process, the scoring process, so that you can understand what kinds of things are compelling to the judges in order to receive one of those grants. It's a pretty broad category. There are 9 separate categories, and as you can see, most projects that your chapter would consider doing is probably going to fall within one of those 9 categories there. And the biggest criteria stipulation is really, it cannot be a pass-through. In other words, you cannot apply for a grant and get $2,500, say, and then pass that check over to another organization. MOAA chapter leadership must be involved and have an active role in managing and executing that project. But you can get more information on that online. You will see as well, not to apply, but once you are awarded a grant, in order to be given the grant money, you must have proof of general liability insurance. We recommend highly that chapters have general liability insurance in place regardless of community grant program and status. However, it is a requirement in order to receive a grant through the MOAA Foundation Community Grant Project. So what can you do for liability insurance? How do you go about that? Here's some basic information on it. It really does depend on where you're located and how many members you have. Generally, it's a price per member, depending on your location, and it goes anywhere from 70 cents to $3 in about that range. And there would be a minimum premium that would need to be paid annually, usually $250 to $300 or so. We do recommend getting estimates from local brokers. If you have an insurance broker that you're comfortable with and you can ask about general liability insurance, absolutely do that. Our company that carries the MOAA insurance products also offers liability insurance, and all you need to do in order to get that information is contact Michelle Armesto at Mercer in order to receive more information about liability insurance through that company. All right, so let's get to the heart of the matter. You have a mission, you're engaged in advocacy, and you're involved in the community. What else can you do to grow membership to ensure that your chapter is sustained into the future? Well, know that, first of all, recruiting and retention are a very common challenge for all chapters. We see that everywhere we go. So let's talk about some of the best practices and the tools and things that we have in place for you. So overall, umbrella-wise, we want you to recruit for national when you recruit for your chapter. And we want to help recruit for chapters when we recruit for national. So many of these programs here help us do both of those things at the same time. And we've put some very new tools in place this past year in order to help us all in this recruiting challenge. Know that there are 3 levels of membership. There's the basic, which is now completely time unlimited. It's a free electronic introduction to MOAA. It was previously capped at 3 years. A person can now come in at the basic level and remain a basic member forever if they want to. But the idea is, once they see what MOAA has to offer, at some point they will upgrade to a paid membership, and that's either the premium or the life membership for MOAA. So what we want to make sure is that when you're recruiting at the chapter level, all of your chapter members should be MOAA national members at least the basic level, because it doesn't cost them anything. Okay, so those are the 3 levels of membership. Everything that we're going to talk about in terms of recruiting, I think, today is located in that very first resource, the Recruiting Program Guide. That is going to go on our website next week, which is the 2nd week of January 2020. So if you have any questions about how the recruiting program works, what some of these tools are, what are our incentives, you will find them on the Recruiting Program Guide, located in the recruiting section of the moaa.org/chapters web page. One of the newest innovations we have here is the Common Join form. That is also located on our web page. You can go to that link. It is intended to be customized by your chapter. So it basically says enrollment form for MOAA national membership, and then you fill in the blank with the name of your chapter. You put your chapter logo on there, you put your chapter mission on there, you put your chapter enrollment dues information on there, so that when you are recruiting, you print those out. Once you've customized it, people fill them out, give it to you, and then they become, and there's a block that they check that says, I understand I'm becoming a MOAA basic member, and then you get that into us, and we sign them up as both a chapter and a MOAA national member. On the other side, what we do when we get a new paid member, so at the premium level or the life level, they will get in the mail their membership kit will contain a voucher for a free 1 year for premium members or 2 years for life members, free membership in their local chapter. So when you get a new member that shows up to your chapter with a voucher, you want to honor that and give them a year or 2 of free membership based on their level, so that you can introduce them to the chapter and bring them in as a new chapter member and retain them, obviously, after their free membership period is up. In addition to having those folks get a voucher for their local chapter, you will also be notified now of new MOAA members who are within your chapter catchment area. And that's called the near real-time notification. It is on the committee module, which you should be using. Both the president and the membership chair generally have access to the committee module. Every month there's a report that you can see on that, and that will tell you all the new MOAA members who are in your chapter catchment area from the previous month. It is not cumulative, please note that. So if you miss a month, you're not going to see the people who joined MOAA the previous month. So at least go in once a month so that you can download and save that list of people. That is your recruiting list. Those are brand new MOAA members who signed up, who are in your area, or existing MOAA members who moved into your chapter catchment area from perhaps some other chapter's catchment area. And finally, members in your area who have previously not opted in to chapter communications, who have recently said, yes, it's okay for my local chapter to contact me. We're going to give you all those people who signed up in the previous month. One of the things that we are also sending out next week, the 6th of January, we will launch a second version of the President's Permission Granted message, and that is a message from General Atkins to all of the MOAA members who are currently not chapter members and are not opted in to chapter communications, asking them, would you like to hear from your local chapter? And last time we did this, a little less than a year ago, we received yeses back from 4,000 people and distributed those amongst the appropriate chapters so that they are additional people in your near real-time notification for you to now contact and recruit. When you're going out to do those retiree appreciation days or any other type of event where you're going to look for new members, you can give our member service center a call and we can provide publications, recruiting kits, the types of things that will attract the population of that event for you. Just give us a call and we can assist you with that. Also, to assist in your bigger events, twice a year, you can fill out a form on our website to get an electronic message sent. We call them email blasts. And you can send that out we'll send that out for you. Just give us the information of the details on the event, and we shoot that out to all MOAA members who aren't chapter members in your local area. And in some cases, we can go out on a wider perspective as well and go out maybe statewide or area-wide, as we did for a big event that was up in the New England area last year. You can think a little bit broader if you'd like to for that, and that might bring some new people to your table, to your event, so that you can talk to them about the great things that your chapter is doing. I've already mentioned virtual chapters and how to really work with them, but those are other members obviously already involved and interested in doing things for MOAA that might be productive members of a geographic chapter at the same time they're doing good things in the virtual chapter. We encourage you to look at a couple of videos on our website, YouTube videos, Why MOAA, that really discusses what MOAA does and why you should be a member of it, and our year in review for, I think this is the second year that we have produced this video talking about all of the good things and progress that we made in 2019. And finally, more of a tool, you can sign up for online dues renewal at no fee so that you can have your folks renew and or pay their dues online through the MOAA website. And these are kind of best practices. So if you have best practices, we really encourage you to share yours. What are your best practices? Here's some of the ones that we've seen from other chapters. You want to strive for and earn the recruiting and retention incentives and awards. Those are in that recruiting program guide that I talked about for 2020. Earn that money. You get $10 for a new basic member, $20 for a premium member, and $30 for a life. That's money that you put into your operations for your chapter and or put it in the recruiting budget line. Hopefully you have some money that is set aside to help recruit so that you can pay for tables at events and do things like that and get out into the community and get your chapter out there. Have a mentality that every member of your chapter is a recruiter. Spouses too. I'm not talking surviving spouse members. I'm talking about spouses of your chapter members. They are often the best recruiters. They're going to be interacting usually with different crowds of people, and if they know that mission statement and elevator pitch from your chapter, they can really add some value to your recruiting practice. create some sort of competition internally amongst all those recruiters, all those recruiting members in your chapter who can recruit the most members, and reward them somehow. Build a recruiting package as well. Have a standard folder with an invitation letter, a current newsletter, membership application, which is hopefully that come and join form, and carry those with you. Encourage your members to carry those with them so that when they're talking to people about your chapter, they can hand them that package right on the spot. Place those membership applications, those common join forms that are tailored on your website. And you know you can have a website through MOAA, a hosted web presence. We also encourage you to look at websites on your own. There are some that you can get that are fairly low cost. Use local media, use earned media. When you're out there doing something in the community, invite the local media to come and attend and observe and take photographs, or at least write up a story and send a couple of photos in to the local newspaper. Even the local television station may sometimes be interested in some of your projects, and certainly send those to us. If you send us photos and stories at chapters@moaa.org, we can always use those for the MOAA newsletter and the MOAA magazine to get some visibility on your chapter. The very best chapters are also using social media to expand their reach, whether it's a chapter Facebook page or Twitter. Somehow they're getting out there, and that's how they're reaching the younger folks who aren't reading those local newspapers. They're using social media. So think about that outlet as well. You also want to think about conducting meetings at different times, different places to meet your member needs. You know, folks who are working during the week aren't necessarily going to take a couple of hours out to do lunch, but one of the chapters I visited did something fairly innovative, I think, which is have a Sunday brunch. And you don't have to have a Sunday brunch every single month or every single quarter even, but try to mix it up a little bit so that you can maximize the different demographics that are going to be able to attend your meetings. And finally, as we mentioned before, connect with your base, your installations and their various offices where you might be able to lend some value to what they're doing. So let's talk now. We've got the folks in the chapter. You've done your best at recruiting them. Obviously, you also need to retain them. And so MOAA does a retention bonus and a retention incentive as well. Look at that in the recruiting guide. But really, you want to make sure that you're inclusive of your new members. Integrate them very quickly, because their first impression of the chapter is going to be key. If they walk into a meeting for the very first time, definitely notice that they're there, have some folks go over and meet them, welcome them to the table, include them in the conversation, make them feel welcome. Don't let them feel like outsiders or uncomfortable for any longer than they already do. Bring them in, give them a sponsor, help them understand what the chapter's about and get them involved in the chapter right off the bat. Help them see the value of their membership. The most successful chapters that we see have a nice balance, 1/3 mission, 1/3 social, 1/3 current events and interests, have a good speaker program. But talk to your chapter members. What are their interests? How can you add value for them? Not everybody is going to be interested in the same type of thing. So really try to include and provide for those new members and keep them interested in coming back. All right, so now you've recruited, you've retained. How are you going to keep people on board and get them interested in being a leader? Because we have great leaders out there in the field, but another major problem that we hear about a lot is leader fatigue. You probably love running your chapter, but after a couple of years, maybe several terms of a couple of years, you're going to get tired and you want somebody to be trained up and ready to come in behind you. So look at your election procedures. Look at your current term limits. We find that 2 years is about an optimal time frame. If you don't have chapter operations handbook, We recommend establishing one, including the election procedures in there, but have that operations handbook so people can actually learn about what's going on in the chapter and be able to step right in when it's their turn to take a leadership role. You want to generate the interest well before a call for nomination. Start talking to people about being a first vice president or a second vice president, or do you want to run for office next year? We think you'd be really great at doing it. Identify those potential candidates well in advance, mentor them, groom them from the minute they walk in your chapter. Get them involved in some of the chapter operations. Put them on a committee, have them in charge of a project. Get them involved so that they can then understand what to do and be motivated to run for one of the offices, the top offices in the chapter. Don't forget about a really important segment of your membership, the surviving spouse members. They add a lot of value, interested in getting involved, can obviously have the same level of membership as any other member in your chapter, should be in positions, not just surviving spouse liaison, which is a great and noble role, but see if we can get some of those surviving spouse members involved in an even bigger role, and same with your your current spouses as well. Then recognize them, just like when you're in the military. You want to develop an active and awards and recognition program. We have several up here at MOAA. You can put folks in for an individual leadership award. We also have categories to recognize your communications folks, to recognize your legislative folks, to recognize your surviving spouse liaison. And we get a surprisingly low number of nominations each year. Know when those awards are given out, and we really, really encourage you to nominate your folks for those kinds of awards. It goes a long way towards keeping them motivated and interested and involved in your chapter. One more note about revenue generation. In addition to some of the stuff that we already talked about, the recruiting incentives and awards, a community grant, another place to get some money for your community involvement is the USAA sponsorship program. We are now administering that in-house here at MOAA with that generous grant from USAA that we've received annually, and that allows chapters to get up to $300 and councils to get up to $800 for a qualifying program. Look for those that application on our website. We have a good amount of money from USAA to give to chapters who are engaged in their community and doing good things. USAA and MOAA want you to be out there in the community doing those kinds of things. Also, a lot of folks aren't aware that our MOAA Vacations sponsor provides a rebate for chapter members who are utilizing MOAA Vacations as their travel agent. So if you've got some folks going on a cruise, whether it's a chapter organized cruise or not, or a vacation or a tour sponsored by MOAA Vacations, your chapter, if they identify themselves as a chapter member, your chapter gets a portion of the commission from those vacations. So know that and let your folks know that so that they can use those services and make you some money at the same time. Our insurance company that I mentioned earlier, Mercer, has a generous program as well. There's a flyer on our website that talks about it, but essentially if you agree to advertise for them in your local newsletter, whether you do it once or whether you do it every single month in your newsletter once a year, and that application period is open right now as well, contact Mercer, get the ad, and put it in your newsletter, and your chapter gets free $100. Look for other places who are interested in advertising in your newsletter as well. Local community services or shops may be interested in providing an advertisement so that you can make a little extra money for your newsletter there as well. And local retail sponsors for some of your events. You know, the local Baskin-Robbins gives a certain percentage of sales for a particular day for a charity. Sign up for those kinds of things. These are ideas, again, best practices that we've seen out there on how chapters can generate some revenue in order to keep their operations strong. Overall resources, I mentioned www.moa.org, an awful lot through there. The basic document that you always want to look at is the Councils and Chapters Policies and Procedures Guide. We're in the midst of a big rewrite of that, but the current version is up there online along with the appendices, and those are really good resources and sources of information for you about anything related to chapter management. Those regional workshops that I talked about, and I'll tell you when those are here in a second, we post the workbook for those workshops online for anybody to see, not just those who were able to attend the workshop, but in particular for the people who weren't able to attend in the area or not. And it's the same type of information that I'm talking about today with the latest and greatest on how you can effectively manage your chapter. Webinars are located on the MOAA.org website as well. This one is recorded there. Hopefully this is where you found it. Look for others, that community grant webinar I spoke of, many others on how to help manage your chapter are super useful if you've got 30 to 60 minutes to watch a webinar. Subscribe and encourage your members to subscribe to the electronic newsletter, the MOAA electronic newsletter. It comes out on a weekly basis every Thursday. The first Thursday of the month also includes chapter council news. Some members may not know this, but a couple years ago we went to a format by which you can either call the Member Service Center or go into your profile and edit it to customize your MOAA newsletter. You can elect whichever areas of interest you would like to receive every week. So whether that's advocacy or benefits or transition, chapter council news is another one. Ensure that your members, especially your leaders, are subscribing to council and chapter news so that that's how we get our information out to the widest percentage of our chapter members is through that newsletter, and that comes out the first Thursday of the month. You can always email us at that email there on the screen, chapters@moaa.org, if you need more information or assistance with anything, or give our first class Member Service Center a call at 1-800-234-MOAA, and they'll be happy to assist. We do get out and visit our councils annually and our chapters every 3 to 4 years, ideally. So if you see a message from us saying you're due for a visit, we'd love to come set up a visit. Please take advantage of those. We like to come out and see what you all are doing in the field and provide any kind of support that you might want at that point. So here's a summary of the things that are coming up in 2020. Just about all of these, I talked about the awards, the grants, scholarships, all of these awards. Storming the Hill Council President's Seminar happens this year in March. It's a little early. If you're super engaged in the legislative advocacy, work with the council and see if you can get on the storming team. That's a really fantastic, eye-opening, and important project and mission that we do every year. Levels of Excellence Awards. If you're doing all the stuff that we talked about today in this webinar, you're going to be very competitive for the Levels of Excellence Award. We would encourage you to submit your chapter for one of those by the 1st of May. And then those other individual awards that I mentioned, super important. Really encourage you to take advantage of those awards programs. Here are the regional training workshops that I talked about. Will be in Orlando, Florida this month, Kansas City, Missouri in May, Colorado Springs in September, and Louisville, Kentucky in November. And you can see the states that will receive invitations to those 4 regional workshops. And I would encourage you, as I said, if you're not in one of those areas or unable to attend, please do take a look at those chapter workbooks, those leadership workbooks that we post online. This concludes this very quick webinar and summary of resources and tools for you to help manage your chapter. Hopefully you've learned something that's new to you. Please spread the word that this exists to your fellow chapter leaders, and we are happy to answer any questions at any point so that we can all assist each other in this wonderful MOAA mission of serving our active duty, reserve, guard, veteran family members and accomplish in that mission. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for all you do for our organization every day. Thank you.